Welcome! This is Automotive Anonymous, and that's the Monster Mini Cooper. More specifically, it's a lightly modified Countryman, John Cooper Works Edition, and it may just be literally everything that you didn't know you needed in a Mini. And today, I get to review it for you. So we'll start with a walk around, go through all the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 on GPS, and then my final thoughts to help you decide if a Mini, or potentially a Monster Mini Cooper, might just be the right vehicle for you. Big thanks to Twin Falls Subaru for letting me borrow this one for the day. I'll link it below if you're interested. Otherwise, let's dive right in with this review. So if you're new to the Mini Cooper, you really need to know that this English company had the first Mini roll off the assembly line back in 1959, and the world was dumbfounded. No, not because this is Minnie Mouse's car, a cartoon that started 3 decades earlier, but because of its interesting size, the characteristics, and the overall charm that these sporty and smaller cars offered. Despite being bought by BMW back in 1996, the Mini brand has still sold more than 10 million units globally, averaging over 200,000 cars every single year. So although the Mini Cooper has been around for quite some time now, the Countryman, which is this larger 4-door version of the Mini, first made its appearance back in 2010, and then had a refresh in 2014. The second generation of the Mini Cooper, which this is a part of, started in 2017, and it spanned to 2023 here in the US. So we're finally starting to see the initial model years of the third generation of the Countryman. They're starting to make an appearance, but if you're not a Mini enthusiast, if you don't follow up with all the changes from year to year, looking from the outside in, there's not a lot that seems drastically altered or updated for this new generation. And then because they are a BMW built platform, they have a pretty hefty price tag. Despite their smaller size, they often can cost close to $50,000 for a loaded model, although they start MSRP in the lower to mid 40s for a John Cooper Works Edition such as this, which is the sporty version. The second generation of the Countryman actually saw quite a bit of change. This one is a 2019 example, and it was the last year that Mini offered a 6-speed manual transmission. Now their only transmission option is the 8-speed auto, which is quite good. But then the following year, for 2020, the 228 horsepower 2-liter turbo engine was upgraded to 301 horsepower. And then even though it is a 4-door Mini Cooper, it still is quite compact and will likely fit in your garage reasonably well. They weigh about 3,600 pounds with a payload capacity of 926, so you can carry 926 pounds of people and stuff in your Mini Countryman. It's a roughly 14 feet long, 6 feet wide, and about 5 feet tall. The wheelbase is just under 9 feet, so it's pretty planted and it has a good stance to keep you feeling stable on the road, especially where the John Cooper Works Edition is fairly sporty. It has about 6.5 inches of ground clearance bone stock, but with these beefier tires I'll show you in just a few minutes, it adds a little bit more than that. And then it has, if it's a manual, a 4:06 final drive ratio, whereas the automatic 8 speeds had a slightly less aggressive 3.2 final drive ratio. These can also do a full circle in 37 feet, which is pretty average for this size of vehicle. Last things to mention here is the gas door is located on the passenger side. When your Mini's locked, so is the gas door. When it's unlocked, so is the gas door. So no one's gonna be siphoning your 91 octane gas if you leave it locked. Otherwise, it's a 16-gallon tank, and this one's rated for roughly 22 city, roughly 30 highway, so your max highway road trip and range is about 480 miles. And then the wheels and the tires. Bone stock, it would have been a 225 45/19 on this John Cooper Works Edition, but right here we have a Toyo all-terrain, and it's a 225 60/18, so you have quite a bit more sidewall, you have quite a bit more tread depth on this one. And then leave the key in your pocket because you have proximity key features on the handle, but you do have unlock, lock, and then you have your power lift gate. I don't see a panic button on here, but you do have a key hidden in the remote. The driver's side door panel offers a lot, but it's all kind of a black theme. You have black suede, black hard plastic, a really interesting handle where the buttons move with it, piano black separating it from the armrest, which is soft touch. You could probably fit about 5 fingers in there. You have your window switches, your mirror adjustment, and everything you need. Your power lift gate, a bottle holder. You probably can't fit a cup or a mug in there with the angle, and then a decently sized snack pocket. Otherwise, John Cooper Works on the door sill. All weather WeatherTech mats on this specific one, aluminum rubberized pedals. You have to pull that twice, and then just lift up the hood. To actually lift up the hood, this one has aftermarket lighting, obviously, regular lighting, lighting stock, power heated seats with some thigh bolstering, and then nothing stamped in up top, but you do get a nice view of the double moonroofs. Sitting inside here is actually a pretty nice place to be, despite it being really black, really dark, and a feeling like the windows are fairly high up compared to where you sit. You still have pretty good visibility. The Alcantara wrapped wheel that's flat bottom is pretty cool. The horn is fairly deep. You have your cruise control settings on the left, your paddle shifters on the back, your voice and volume controls on the right. There's not really a whole lot that goes into the odometer and speedometer, but when we fired up with that really cool push button start, it roars to life. It beeps at you if your seatbelt's not on, and then you can see you have vents and speakers throughout, and then the ginormous screen, which is pretty interesting. It's unique. It's different than most other vehicles. The actual screen itself is not that large, but the overall appearance of it with the illuminated circle, I do think is pretty entertaining. You have physical buttons for HVAC, heated seats, all of those things, auto start stop, traction control, your sport mode, or your green mode, which is economy. You have a 12 volt, a USB, kind of like a plaid design pattern in the storage, some cup holders. You can go into reverse, and this is your backup camera. It's actually fairly small, but pretty clear. There's no trajectory lines that I'm seeing. And then the mirror is also angled down when you go into reverse, which is a pretty cool feature. Otherwise, you have an electronic parking brake. You have controls to work the screen while you're driving, kind of like Mazda. I do think that's a good idea. And then you have another 12 volt down here underneath the armrest with some more plaid trim. And then wireless charging in this miniature sized center console. Otherwise, up top, you have the rear view mirror with the compass. You have some fun buttons for your lights. They are LED up here. You have the sunshade, which is manual, and the power moonroof, which is automatic. Your SOS button, some more speakers, incandescent lighting. This doesn't slide out, but you have a second one for the side. Otherwise, let's turn it off. Let's hop in the back. The rear door panel follows the same theme and design language. It doesn't advertise Harman Kardon speakers, but it does have a nice large double speaker. Otherwise, all the same materials. It's just so dark, it's kind of sad. What isn't sad though is a ginormous snack pocket. I'm glad that that is offered on this Mini. And then you still have the John Cooper Works on the door sill, which is uncommon to have that advertised on the back of most mid-luxurious cars. Then this is the leather bench seat. 40 split on the driver's side, 60 split on the passenger side, and they do recline. At 5'11", I have this much room in front of my knees. I have a map pocket, so I can be a backseat driver. I can admire the English flag on the back of the headrests. Ventilation, some plugins. I do wish there was heated seats, but there aren't. There's also not a center armrest, unless you pull it down like you're gonna store a longer item through it. But that's not really what that's meant for. Otherwise, it's a pretty nice place to be back here. You have some natural light coming through the roof, and I think it's time to hop out and show you the hatch. I personally think the back of this Mini is a little bit boring. It's not nearly as exciting as the interior, but if basic design is elegant to you, then this has an abundance of it. With its simple dual exhaust, the eye bolt hole, and just the basic sensors for the backup safety systems, it does everything you need. And then there's 4 ways to get into the back of your Mini. You can either push the button that's on the door panel, climb through the back seats, push the button underneath the Mini emblem, or just do the laziest of all and use the remote for that power liftgate. And it actually opens fairly quickly. And then back here you have 16 cubic feet of capacity with the rear seats up, about 49 when they're down. So that's fairly similar to a medium to large sedan. You're not going to be hauling anything excessively large back here, but if you don't need to worry about that, it's easy to live with this much space. You have a household style outlet right here. You have a 12 volt right here, and then there's no spare tire on this one, just some extra room hidden underneath the floorboard. What are you going to hide under there? Comment below. Otherwise, up top, you can lock and lower the hatch, or just lower the hatch and leave it unlocked. The passenger side door panel has all the same theme and design language. There's no surprises back here. Same John Cooper Works on the door sill, map pocket, and then this is the 60 split with the child safety tethers on the back. If you're fortunate enough to ride shotgun, you have, again, a nice door panel with advertised Harman Kardon speakers. John works on the door sill. Powered seats, thigh support, and they're heated. So even though my backpack doesn't have thighs, it still can feel like it's riding in something awfully special. No storage on the transmission tunnel. The glove box is not locking, but it's kind of interestingly shaped. There's an incandescent light. No plugins, but I do like how it's designed. And then if we come around to the front, I want to show you what's under the hood. This slightly modified 2-liter turbo engine. So let's pop the hood. Under the hood is the 2-liter turbo engine. Because this one is a 2019, it makes 228 horsepower at 5,000 RPM and about 258 foot-pound-feet of twisty torque, as low as 1,450 RPM. But this one obviously has an aftermarket intake and a blow-off valve that you'll likely hear on the driving impressions, so it maybe makes a few extra ponies. Otherwise, the reservoirs are kind of scattered throughout because it's front-wheel drive bias. The serpentine belt and the alternator are on the passenger side over here. And look at how far back that engine is on the platform of this. So it's gonna have better weight distribution, better balance, but it's gonna be a pain in the butt to work on. I know I personally wouldn't want to work on the exhaust side of this engine with how far away tucked in it is back there. But overall, dang, does that look good. And check out the cutouts for the headlights. Very interesting how Mini designed this platform. Let's drop the hood. And time for my favorite part. I'm gonna time travel and teleport you to one of my favorite roads, show you how it drives, and then we'll meet back here for my final thoughts. Initial driving impressions of the Mini Cooper. It's not fast, but it's quick. The 228 horsepower, it does pretty well for this bigger, mid 3,000 pound version of the Mini Cooper. The blow-off valve sounds really fun, and the brakes work well when there's dogs in the road and you need to slow down. Side mirrors look good. They're shaped pretty entertainingly. They're kind of like ovals. The rear view mirror does a good job too, because this vehicle is only about 14 feet long. Overall though, visibility is pretty good. The A-pillar's a little bit on the thick side. The windows aren't overly tall, but you can see out of them just fine. The B-pillar is a little bit thicker. You can fit full-size adults in the back seat, and the C and D pillar are fairly wide as well. The interior is awfully dark, but it's comfortable. It feels like you're in something really special, something really unique. And that's coming from someone that doesn't drive a Mini. I can't imagine that the interior trim pieces, some of the design language in here would ever really get boring. It's so much more entertaining than what a lot of the standard vehicles these days seem to offer. Even having the red on the steering wheel, it's pretty cool. And when you have to do a roll, when you have to get up to speed, we're at a little bit of altitude, but the Mini does okay. The John Cooper Works Edition does make it a little bit stiffer riding, but the extra sidewall on these all-terrain tires makes it a little bit more forgiving. So it's kind of an interesting feeling to have a stiffer body, but a little bit of softness in the lower portion of the suspension closer to the ground. Otherwise, I'm having a pretty good time. The backpack's having a pretty good time, but it's kind of blending into the darker materials. There is good thigh support with the extensions. The seats are actually fairly aggressive to hold you in place, although this is not the kind of vehicle, being a front-wheel drive, biased all-wheel drive system, they're gonna throw around a corner. But if you do have to change direction in a hurry, it actually is very sharp. It does a really good job. But you know what, guys? Let's get to the private road. Let's see how fast it is. 0 to 60. 0 to 60 in the Mini Cooper. Density altitude's about 5,000 feet, so this turbo engine's down in power 10%. Traction's off. Sport mode is on. Brake rev. Let's go. And true 0 to 60 came in at 7.31 seconds. That's not surprising given the fact that we're at altitude. This has all-terrain tires. It's a pretty big Mini. Here's my final thoughts. My final thoughts of this Countryman John Cooper Works Mini Cooper is it's a really interesting ride. I love all the buttons and the switches that the interior offers. I love the styling characteristics that the previous owner went to make this one unique, to make it a monster Mini Cooper. And I just think overall it's a really fun platform. Personally, if I was to buy a Mini Cooper, it would likely be a 2-door convertible or a 2-door hardtop, but that's just because the lighter weight the car is, the funner it is to drive in my experience. That's why I own a 2023 Mazda Miata Club, because lightweight is key. But if you need to haul around your family, if you need a little bit bigger ride, I think the Mini Cooper Countryman is probably the car for you. But what really matters is your thoughts. Have you owned one of the 10 million Minis produced? Comment below. I want to know which trim level, which model year. Are you considering one? Let me know that too. Leave all of your information, social security number, your mother's maiden name, and anything else you want to include in the comments below. Otherwise, if you like my video, please consider liking my video. It helps it to get spread. That's all I ask. Subscribe if you want to watch more. I post a couple times a week. And until next time, I hope you take care. See ya.